I'd like to call the meeting of the St. John Economic Development Committee for November 13th, 2024 to order at 5:02 p.m. Would everybody please rise and join me in the pledge? Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chuck, will you call the roll, please?
Certainly. Schultz.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Schlichting.
Here.
Am I getting that right?
Schlichting, yes.
Schlichting. Barry.
Here.
Pullen, present. We are missing Ed Stoyanchevich, and we knew that we would be missing Bill Clark.
Correct. Okay. Cool. Okay, so the next up is approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. You have got them in front of you, and they were sent out electronically. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay.
Second.
In a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, next up, the old business, which is the Kris Kringle Market, and I will turn that over to Chuck for that.
Thank you. So things are going amazingly well. The vendor process was a little bit more involved than we expected, but Shelby has been doing a tremendous job of vetting our vendors and making sure that everybody that's coming fits into our vision for the event. I think we're right around 40 or so vendors that are approved and we're basically in the process of getting payment from. We've got some more outstanding. Our goal was between 40 and 50, so if we're at 40, I'm happy. If we're at 50, that's great. We may approach a sellout, which is fantastic for budget. Now that we've gotten through that part of it, which we're basically closing that this week for applications, then we can move on to the fun part of actually planning the event. So Amy and I have been working on that and looking at bringing in different performers and things like that, and looking at what would make sense for that, and then also looking at just budget-wise, getting decorations, and we're looking at working with some local businesses to donate or basically loan us decorations and be a part of that. So, I mean, overall, everything's looking fantastic. The only thing that I would ask is if anybody has any pull upstairs to make sure we have good weather.
Pastor.
But other than that, I think things are looking fantastic, and I'm hoping for a great turnout.
Sounds great.
Is there anything that you wanted to add on that?
Do you want me to announce the appearances?
If we're comfortable with people that are booked, we can go ahead and say that, and then we can put that out publicly.
We have booked Elsa and Anna, and they will be making an appearance at the Kris Kringle Market from 11:30 to 12:30. And we also have booked an appearance with Santa Claus, and Santa will be making an appearance from 1 to 3.
We'll have some musical acts we're working on booking as well. I'm working on something that I hope I can put together. I want to have basically a virtual, we'll call it like a virtual snowball fight. So basically kids can come in and have a snowball fight without actually having snow. So we'll see if that works out. We've been talking to different people about different ideas, and obviously most of the outdoor events are warm weather centered. So the idea of, talking to somebody like at a bounce house and going, hey, does a bounce house work in December? No, not so much. Okay. But I mean, stuff like that where we could do something like that if we wanted to. I just, if the weather isn't cooperating, it won't work out. So there's a lot of just talking to people and saying, what can we do outdoors in December? And so we're trying to come up with a few more things because, again, we have some money in the budget because of the number of vendors. So we're just trying to come up with some fun things for the community.
That's wonderful. 40 people already?
Yeah, 40 vendors already, and we have room for about 50. So the goal would be that by the end of this week, we have around 50 vendors, which is basically a sellout of the parking lot, which is, again, good for our budget and good all the way around.
That's awesome. Does that include the food trucks, or I think the food trucks are in addition?
I think space-wise, I believe the food trucks, and we're looking at basically you've got vendors that don't fit in the traditional stalls. I think there's 3 or 4 that wouldn't go in the stall. So you're right. So that would be in addition to that. So space-wise, let's just say 55 vendors altogether, or something along those lines. Obviously, we can make room for more if we needed to, but our goal would be not to make things too crowded the first time. But so again, the goal is around 50 or so vendors, and I think we're on target for that. So.
Amy, you had mentioned something about the coffee place might be interested. Are we having anything like that?
We actually have several coffee vendors, so we're good there. We actually had to turn one away because we had so many coffee vendors.
Okay.
So hopefully there'll be lots of coffee and different flavors and hot chocolate and all sorts of fun things like that. The vendors are very, there's a lot of different people that are getting involved. There's food, there's crafts. I mean, you basically run the gamut of things you'd like to see at an event like that. So I think it'll be a nice variety. So I think there'll be something for everybody. And obviously the next goal is entertainment and things for kids to do and things like that. But all in all, I think it's going to be a well-rounded event where everybody can find something fun to do.
It's fantastic. It really is. That's a great job, you guys.
Just need good weather at this point.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
But I think it'll be a nice part of a bigger weekend here in town. So there'll be lots of fun events. And obviously the goal is to, bring people to town to spend money and stay for a while.
How many other music vendors are you looking at?
Well, we're basically, one of the interesting things that we were discussing before the meeting started was it's very difficult for a performer to play for very long when it's cold. So, for instance, my friend who plays guitar said it's very hard to play guitar for a few hours when the weather's not cooperating. So I would say anybody that's interested, even if they just wanted to come and play 30 minutes, if anybody in the town, I know somebody had mentioned their daughter plays the violin, love to have you. If anybody plays, I forget what else we had mentioned, the accordion, things like that. So it's kind of like, I don't want to say it's a free-for-all, but anybody that like to come and play and kind of walk around and, I think Amy had mentioned come play your accordion for tips kind of thing. We'd love to have you because I think that'll just add to, the spirit of the event.
It's great.
So
So going forward, we just show up that day.
just show up and maybe help me take some garbage out and keep an eye on things. And that's really it. That's all I really need. I mean, at this point, really anything that you'd like to offer time-wise, it'd be good if you can come in early and just, a lot of this, like I said, Shelby is from the farmer's market, is on top of everything vendor-wise, so they know their part. So a lot of it is just basically, making sure, pointing people in the right direction, making sure, everything is flowing. So that's all I really need to do is at the end of the day is just make sure that we leave the parking lot better than we found it. So they're happy, and that's really about it.
I imagine we might need help before it opens to put the decorations up because we can't really do them the night before. So I imagine putting the decorations up and taking decorations down, at least the ones that we need to do. If
Right.
any of the local businesses are going to set up their own things, I assume they would also take them down.
Yeah, we'll work with them on that. So basically, if you go to the farmer's market, if you're familiar, there's a small road on the west side of that parking lot. That'll be where the decorations are primarily going to be at because we have to accommodate the trucks coming in and out, the food trucks. So we'll have an entrance for the food trucks, and then the other entrance can be whatever decorations we want. We don't have to, as long as, obviously it's normal height kind of thing. We don't have to worry about vendors or trucks coming and going out of that space. So yeah, as early as people wanted to come in and get set up, we can do that. Obviously, since it's not going to be an evening event, we talked about lights and things like that. We can do lights. We can have a generator from the town if we need to, but it's not going to be at night. So, I don't think we have to spend too much time and effort on lighting. It'd be nice to have some lighting, but it's not hugely necessary, I don't think.
Are we still working on a photo op for Santa location
So,
setup?
right. The plan is to borrow Santa's throne, we'll call it. So we have a throne in town that we'll be using, and then we just have to work out. Ideally, one of our local businesses would work with us on decorating that, but that is kind of the last thing we have to figure out is just what that set would look like for photos, if we wanted to have a space to do that. So we're still working on that. So we're trying to get some commitments from people as far as what they can bring and what they can do for the day. Worst case, we'll just have to ask somebody for sort of a traditional backdrop, but I'd like to do something more fun than that if we can, and have something more more lively.
We might be able to do the photo area like back under the circle drop off at the entrance for them.
Yeah, that's a possibility that
If
could
the
work.
weather's not too cooperative.
Yeah, no, that
or
actually,
something.
that does make sense. And so that area is normally reserved for musicians, but if we're not going to have a musician there, I like the idea of having musicians kind of walking around to the choirs. So that does make sense. That's actually a pretty good idea. We should look at doing that.
And if we can set it back too, if it's windy or something, it might insulate them a little bit from,
Plus, if there's a line, then they're not spilling out into the vendor area too.
Right.
So that's a great idea. Okay. No, I agree. So we'll talk to Shelby about that, and it's a great way to do that. I think that's a great plan.
Right.
So that's really all we have.
That's great. That's a lot.
Yeah. And then and on to next year, bigger and better, right?
Bigger and better, right?
Oh, do I have some plans for next year?
Oh, I'll bet you do. That's good. This is fantastic. A wonderful job. You two guys have really,
Well, and again, I do want to mention, there's been so much cooperation in town, Parks and Rec, the clerk's office, town manager, everybody in town has just jumped at the opportunity to help us with this. Everybody's stepped up, and they're just the registration process and, managing vendors and coming up with ideas. Everybody has been fantastic to work with, and it really shows how well our town works. And so everybody has been just great to work with, and everybody's stepped up, and it's been fantastic.
and there's
So-
been a lot of promotion. I've seen the social media stuff that's been out there, and that's great too.
Yeah.
That's all through all that stuff too. Great. Very good. Let's go. All right. Well, moving on. Does anybody else have anything else about anything?
no.
Because we've covered committees and all that stuff here. There's no public comment? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Second? All in favor?